All right, technical difficulties. We're back. Go ahead. Tell your story, bro.
All right, so I don't even know where I left off. But
do you know the story? Do you know where we're at?
But no, I was just telling my story about when my girlfriend and I moved into the house that we're in now, and we're laying in bed, and I see the street light lighting up the window, and then out of nowhere, the whole window blocks out from the right to the left, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare my girlfriend, and then all of a sudden she says, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "Well, get out of bed and go check it out." I'm like, "Okay." So I get out of bed. I'm looking out the window. It's nobody walking in front of the window.
Are you thinking, gee, it's nice being a man? This is great.
Right? He's like, "Which gun you want me to grab? Come on."
Right.
But I looked out the window. I didn't see anybody on the outside. And we had a white candle lit on the dresser for God to protect her with his white light. Mm-hmm. And then as I stood up, the candle made a flicker, and it was almost all the way. It was in one of those glass cylinders, so it was burnt down pretty far, so air wouldn't make it like flicker or pop. So then the candle flickered and made a pop, and then all of a sudden this rush of cold air comes into the room, and then I just shrugged my shoulders and just went to bed and fell asleep.
Yeah, and you did that because you're so used to this shit that it gets old sometimes. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you got the demon house. You're like, oh, I'm so scared. It's like, bro, you've been doing this a long time. Shit happens, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there's another time where I was just laying in bed and I heard a whisper of my name in my left ear. And I turned around and looked to the left. And then
you're killing me. You're killing me. I heard that.
Right back.
I know. People are going to think I'm full of shit, but I heard the same thing. Like 3 nights ago, I'm laying in bed and I heard John Michael in my ear. And I was like, yo, what? I'm like, what? Because I don't even get scared. I'm like, I'm hoping to hear something else. Like, it kind of freaks you out for a second. But I'm like, what? What? I didn't hear nothing else, nothing. But it happened, you know?
Yep, same here. And all mine was shame, and it was in a whisper right in my left ear.
Been there.
And then, like, when I first, this was back when I first moved in, because there's not really much that happens. I see somebody peek their head around the corner every now and then now, but for the most part, whatever is in the house is gone now. But when we first moved in, I was downstairs because the people had carpet everywhere in my house. The laundry sink tub had carpet glued onto it, carpet in the bathrooms, kitchen. It was nasty. But I'm sitting on the ground pulling this carpet off of the laundry sink tub, and out of, over my shoulder, I see this full body shadow just go from one room, and then it ran up the stairs. And I got up and I ran at it. I ran after it, and I didn't see anything.
There you go.
So that was another.
That's what I mean. There was a dude on camera. He got a massive shadow person, so clear, walk across his basement floor, and he runs away. And I'm thinking, dude, you don't run away, you run towards it.
Right? Because everyone wants to, see this shit. They want to experience it with you. I mean, don't run from it.
Right.
And so, I darted after it. And
that's the thing. Can a ghost hurt you, I guess, is another question. My answer is maybe, but unlikely, you know?
If it was pissed off enough, I think it really could. A lot of times, if they're pissed off, they just want to scare you and just make you run.
Right. I mean, I've seen people get pushed, and, if you're in the right situation, you're at the top of a staircase or something, you get pushed, maybe. It could happen.
Just like
I was
pulled back towards that. I was pulled back towards the closet by that demon too. You know?
So if you were in the right situation, it could have hurt you. Now, I think there are people that would tell you there's no documented cases of that happening, somebody getting hurt or something. It could happen. But if you have your wits about you, probably not. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. There was a case that I didn't get to go on because I had to work the next day, but it was in Casey, Illinois. One of the guys that that used to be on my team, he went there by himself. They were so scared, they actually came here, picked him up, and took him back to their house. And then, oh man, like out of nowhere, the homeowner calls me at like 3-something in the morning, and then starts freaking out. And I'm in bed because I had to be at work the next morning. And she says, Chris is he's in the street right now. He doesn't want to come back into my house, and he's just walking down the road. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? You know, I'm in bed. I'm like 2.5 hours away. I can't do nothing. But anyways, there was another team in Charleston, Illinois, and it was a couple mediums that used to help me on my team. They went to that house with their group, and one of the mediums was physically picked up and thrown up against the wall at this house.
Okay, well, I don't know. I've never experienced something so demonstrative that I thought I couldn't deal with it if I had my wits about me. And that's a big caveat. Like, you have to have your wits about you. If you're in a haunted house, I don't know, don't stand at the top of the staircase, you know? But,
right.
Okay. Well, all right. That's good. I mean, people should be wary, good, you know. But I want to encourage people to do this. I think we need more research, but yeah, be careful. I wouldn't want to be responsible for somebody going, hey, there's no problem, like, you know, get thrown out.
Well, this lady had scratches in her, and she had one appear like on her chest of a pentagram. I don't know if she did it herself. Okay. That's just it. I don't know if she did it, but then she had a symbol scratched on her, and I looked up the symbol, and it stood for Satan.
Okay.
You know, so I can't really believe that. I can't believe it because it's not like I saw it happen. But then again, that Chris dude was taking video of her laying in bed because that's when she was most vulnerable. And as she was laying there, she grabs her back and she lifts up her shirt, and you can actually see 3 scratches appearing on her back. But then again, I don't know if she did that when she went to lift her shirt up. You know, and then she started growling. She started growling. Her eyes turned dark and her face got like skinny. And this was a big woman, like over 200 pounds.
Wait, you mean her eyes got dark like Tom McDonald in a demonic video he does or something? You mean like that? Like, yeah. No pupils?
Yes, her whole face just completely changed. And then she started growling.
Back up. I like Tom McDonald, but yeah, I mean, I just kind of use that as an example of like the blacked out pupils, you know? Like,
oh, I love that guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, Tom McDonald. Check him out on YouTube. Best independent rapper ever. Great.
Amen.
Anyway.
Amen. So.
Amen.
So, yeah, I think they can hurt you.
Do you ever think, though, that the dark does work with the light? Do you think sometimes this isn't what it seems? It's actually something trying to tell you, like, when you can't figure it out any other way, that there is something else. Because if there's dark, there's light. There has to be, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's got to be. Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, do you think there's ever something that seems dark, but it's actually not? It's something just trying to wake you up?
I don't know if the dark works with the light. I don't have proof of that happening. Like, I can see, like, if a evil presence is trying to get your attention and you ignore it, maybe they're going to throw a loved one in the mix just to get your attention. You know,
I guess the reason I say that is because I've done occult practices, right? I've tried to talk to Lilith, right? I've tried to do all these things. To where, you know, I'm not going to get into everything I've done, but I've done things to try to bring things forth, right? And I've brought things forth. I've had experiences, but I've never felt like I've been attacked. If anything, I've felt, I don't know, I've seen things and they don't tell me personally, but I just get this feeling of it's like a misunderstanding. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe my mind is just warped. But I just feel like there's things I've experienced, and what I'm getting from it is that it's not what people think it is. That and maybe that's just something they're telling me and not other people. But I feel like I've got this like download of information that it's like it's not what you think it is. Sometimes this is just to teach people things. Like if there's dark, there has to be light, and some people won't come to the light on their own. So sometimes they have to be scared into realizing there's something else. Does that make sense?
Correct, and that brings me to like Ouija boards.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of Ouija boards. I mean, but then again, is a spirit box the digital form of a Ouija board? You know,
that's a good question.
That's kind of,
yeah.
I mean, you're trying to contact it, you know, or it's like any type of equipment, just like using a Ouija board. I mean, you're wanting to get words spelled out on a board. You're wanting to get words out of a spirit box. To me, it's the same thing.
What do you think about audio motor effect or whatever the hell they say? Like, I've done Ouija boards. I've gotten really interesting responses. Sometimes I've gotten responses, though. Like, we had something that talked to us all night, apparently, with my niece and my sister. But when it told me things as it told me, I couldn't find anything to back it up. Like it said, his name was Quad the Third and all this stuff, like QUAD the Third. But I couldn't find anything to back that up. I've even tried years later, nothing. And it's like, okay, so I don't know. You know, was it them? Was it not? I don't know.
See, I don't know. I'm not a huge believer in the Ouija board. I mean, you can conjure up. Look at Paranormal on Camera. You know, everybody's conjuring up all this, like, creepy internet stuff, like Slender Man. You know, all these, like, cave-looking creatures out in the woods. I just watched Paranormal on Camera the other day, and, like, there was just screams coming from this building. And they actually captured this thing peeking around the doorway. And it was letting out this woman's scream.
I heard that. Like, it was supposed to be Lenora or whatever. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. But it was creepy. I mean, they thought it was coming from the woods. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, you look at stuff like that. Well, what about the theory, the idea that some of this comes from the subconscious, that we can actually project our voices, our thoughts into the environment? Now, I had a friend that thought that was the case because he didn't believe in anything, and then he got EVPs, and he goes, well, that must be me projecting my thoughts onto the recorder. And I said, well, that's still pretty damn paranormal, right? But it is not Afterlife, if that's the case. But what do you think?
Right. I think we admit our own energies to create stuff. You know, if you're wanting, it's just like pictures and stuff. Like, I've had people send me pictures of their blanket on their bed and say, oh, do you see this face? I'm like, no. You know, there'll be a spot on the wall. Oh, look at that face. There's something looking at me. It looks evil. I'm like, I don't see it. You know, so your mind can make up.
But maybe they do. Maybe there is something there just for them, right?
Yeah, maybe it's just meant for them, like my girlfriend's dad. You know, it was only meant for her to see him, not me. Right. And then that's
right. And I mean, of course, if ghosts can do all these things, then why can't living people do these things sometimes?
Exactly.
But either way, I mean, even if my buddy projected his voice on the recorder, well, if you can do that while you're living, who's to say you can't do more demonstrative stuff when you're not? You know, I mean, I think when you take the whole picture, everything into perspective, it's not hard to believe that all of this proves that, yes, consciousness is not something created by the brain. It's like a TV. A TV is nothing without a signal, but the TV picks up the signal, you know. The scientists would have us believe, well, not all of them, some, most, I guess, would say, no, the brain creates consciousness, but yet they can't tell us where it comes from. They can't explain anything. It's just their belief. But who's to say a consciousness is not a receiver of a signal as opposed to an output, you know?
Yeah, just like sound waves. You know, sound waves play a huge part.
Yeah, I mean, FM signals, AM signals, you can't see them, but they exist. And then you turn on your radio, and it picks them up. So here you go. You're doing a paranormal investigation, you use equipment, and it picks it up.
Yep. You got CB radios.
Yep.
You know, I've had it to where I was using a walkie-talkie, and I debunked our REM pods going off because every time you would press the walkie-talkie, it would send a signal through the house, and all the freaking REM pods would just start going crazy. You know, and then who's to say you're not picking up a semi-driver talking on a CB radio coming across your walkie-talkie or something?
Right, yeah.
I mean, It's just,
yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things they use for UPO. It's just stray radio signals, whatever. I don't know. Stray radio signals from truckers don't tend to answer questions at the top bunk, the top floor of a prison. I don't think.
That is, no.
Does that explain it sometimes? Probably. Sometimes.
I've had our walkie-talkies just
But then again, it's like, me at that trailer. What causes that wispy form at the middle of a trailer where my dog's barking at it, my stepdaughter's acting like she's out of The Exorcist? I can't tell you.
Right.
I don't think there's much that makes sense except something paranormal as hell,
That is true.
But seeing is believing, I guess.
I like to debunk.
Okay.
Debunking is number one in the paranormal field. Don't believe everything's paranormal. So.
Right. Absolutely. So, Halloween 2021. What are you doing? Anything fun happening for Halloween? Do you like Halloween? Is that one of your favorite holidays? You go on ghost hunts on that day or anything? What do you do?
I love Halloween, and I think we're trying to plan a trip in October to go to Waverly Hills in Kentucky.
Ooh. Tell people about Waverly Hills. What's the story behind that place?
I've never been there. I've never been there.
But what is it?
So
Just to tell the audience, what is Waverly Hills? What's the history of it?
It's a sanatorium. So it's enormous. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds of rooms. And if you just have a group of like 2 to 3 people, there's no way you can investigate that whole entire place in one night. So it's pretty much like going to the Mall of America. It's like you can't do it all in one night.
But by yourself with no one else around.
Yeah, there's no way you can cover that whole area by yourself at all. So I don't really know much history on it, though. Honestly, I don't. And I'm not going to lie. I haven't checked into it yet. I'm going to. I'm going to go on YouTube and look up, like, ghost hunts at Waverly Hills.
I know it's supposed to be haunted. How about this? What are some of the most haunted places in the United States that you're aware of? Any stories you can tell or just any history you can tell of, like, really haunted places? Like, where would people want to go if they can?
You're never guaranteed evidence ever, no matter where you go.
Right.
I went to Ashmore Estates. That's where Ghost Adventures went. I got absolutely nothing at Ashmore Estates at all.
It's like that happened, yeah.
It's pretty much. Like, one of my friends, he's went to Bobby Mackey's. Zach Beggins is like, I will never go to Bobby Mackey's ever again. It scared the shit out of me. I just will never go back.
Right. And I think at this point we've established he's a pussy, right?
Yeah. when my buddy
the most seasoned investigator ever is a pussy. We got this, bro. He's got nothing on us.
No, and my buddy went down into the basement by himself at Bobby Mackey's and got absolutely nothing. So
let me tell you, when we did the Hannah House, we would do tours there for the longest time. We would do tours. We would show people the whole place, tell them the history, and then we started doing overnight stays. And people were like, I got my hair pulled, I did this and that, and it was like every time people said shit was happening, but we knew from investigating there over and over and over again, it was rare. And even when something happened, it wasn't demonstrative. So we started not believing people. We were like, they're full of shit, or something happened. They got a bug in their hair and thought something happened, or somebody brushed against them. It's like, it's not like what you think it is. For the most part, paranormal investigation, you have to be very dedicated. You have to be ready for nothing to happen. And when it comes to looking at evidence, there's nothing more boring, is there? How about looking at 8 hours of tape and trying to find something? We used to put our tapes on fast forward, and we're like, if there's something, we'll see it. And that's actually how we found the light that came into the room. That's how we found it. It was on fast forward. We're like, whoa, back up. But you're there for 8 hours, and you take a tape in one room for 8 hours. Yeah, it's hard to just look at a black room for 8 hours with nothing.
Well, and that goes to show, like, when I review evidence, I'll do like 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and then I'll go step away for a while. Right. Because the longer you're staring at that screen, the longer you're listening to audio, your mind is going to start creating shit. I mean, it's best to like do a little bit and then take a break. Do a little bit, take a break. I mean, that's how I do it. I mean, and it takes a while. But
no offense, but are you religious? Are you spiritual? And if you are or not or whatever, how does it affect your beliefs now? Looking at all this.
I am not religious. I do believe in God. I've got St. Michael the Archangel tattooed on my arm. I've got St. Michael the Archangel prayer in Latin going down my arm. Are
you a Christian?
No, I'm not. I'm not, but I believe in St. Michael. I pray to St. Michael. St. Michael is like my go-to.
So are you kind of like me? You think there's a lot of truth in the Bible, but that it was written by man. And so, there's good stuff in there, but there's stuff that's kind of just man.
But there's so many different ways that the Bible is put together, though. So
that's what I mean.
One's true? And like my dad said, what if we
There's
buried
40 authors, I think. 40 authors. That being said, if you look at the word of Jesus, right, if you get a Bible that has the red words, I personally would say I agree with all those words, all of them,
Yeah.
But those are the words that are attributed to that man, right? But everything else is not,
Well, just like my dad. My dad said, what if we buried a Spider-Man comic book under the ground and 1,000 years passes on? Are people going to think there was a Spider-Man? It's like, I don't know.
Marvel is digging up Thor and all these other gods and stuff. I would say they're demigods. I think it's really interesting because if you get into UFO lore, especially, there's supposed to be an alien that came to Earth, and they have pictures of him, the whole thing, right? And his name is Thor, Valiant Thor, and he's an alien that's lived forever, and it's like this blonde-haired guy, and I'm like, maybe there's some truth to that shit, I don't know. So, like, what is a god? It's some entity from space, from some other planet that comes here and lives longer than us and has other abilities than us. Is that a god? Is that an alien? That's why I was asking you about, like, interdimensional stuff. It's like, maybe in other dimensions, there's, beasts that look like what you would call demons, and they got claws and everything else, but they're just normal. It's like, that's the thing. What is paranormal? It's just the normal that we don't understand, If spiritual is real, what is spiritual? These are semantic games we're playing, I guess the biggest question is there life after death? I would say that paranormal investigation definitely tells you there is. Would you agree?
Yes, and afterlife. So,
that's what I mean.
I believe
there is something beyond this. As Yoda would say, this crude flesh is not us. We are luminous beings. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, my brother actually died and came back. I mean, he actually had an outer body experience. Well, he was drinking one night. All right, he was in high school. He was drinking with some friends. He had a girl with him. They were driving down the freeway, and they took an off-ramp, and this off-ramp was like a really, really sharp turn. And mind you, he's got alcohol in the system. But when he got to the end of this the turn, there was a truck that was just parked right there at the bottom, and he rear-ended this truck so hard that his head went through the windshield. And when it went through the windshield, it punctured a hole in the back of his head. So then he was spurting blood everywhere. And there was a cop that actually wasn't too far away that seen it happen. So then he came around and assessed the accident scene, and he seen that my brother was losing a bunch of blood. So he put his hand on the back of my brother's head, called for an ambulance. But what he remembers is laying in the ambulance, they cut his shirt off, and he's sitting on top of the ambulance watching them work on him. And he heard them pronounce him dead, and then they brought him back to life. But he was sitting on top of the ambulance watching it happen.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you look into NDEs, I mean, you could look into even Ian Stevenson for like reincarnation tales or whatever. And I would contend that there's reincarnation all throughout the Bible. I would contend that there's no hell actually in the Bible. The word hell is Gehenna, which means where they took things to burn at the fire, you know, they would burn them. And I think it's more of a symbolic thing, like burning off of karma. Like there's all kinds of stuff about that. But yeah, I had a friend who he was in jail and he tried to do astral projection and all that kind of stuff. And he had experiences to where he was like, dude, these things are real. Like I had real experiences doing astral projection to where he was like, I was doing things I shouldn't do. I'm not even going to go further than that. Use your imagination. He was like, and then there's like these guys that came after me, like Men in Black and stuff. And like, I think that shit's real. Like I did stuff I shouldn't have done on the astral plane. And then they came looking for me. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. I've done astral projection too. I've done lucid dreaming. And sometimes I get those things confused. It's like, what is what? I don't know. But yeah, there's more than this flesh, definitely. And the point I was going to make, I kind of got off topic, but so there's reincarnation, and then you look at NDE research. There's a woman that she saw the saw that they use on her, which kind of looks like a toothbrush, like an electric toothbrush, and it cuts through bone or whatever. Yeah. And she described it perfectly, and it's not something that most people would know. No, it's not something anybody would know unless they're in the medical profession. And it's not even medical profession in certain aspects of the medical profession. So unless she guessed perfectly correctly, I doubt it, you know? And there's tons of stories like that. Like it seems obvious that that's the case. So, yep, amazing.
And I've
absolutely amazing.
I've had people say that they've died and they've seen like the pearly white gates and all that crap too, and described it in detail. And I mean, so what be? I mean, there's a.
I kind of had this theory myself that the afterlife is kind of like a dream state, and it's one that we create. I think my personal experience from looking into Buddhism and esoteric Christianity and these kind of things, I think we judge ourselves. If you are willing to forgive yourself and all others, you might be able to pass on to some other reality. But if not, if you feel bad about everything, you might come right back here. And, you know, to me, this place is hell, if anything.
That's true.
But
they always say we're living another planet's hell.
Right. So, I don't know so do some people experience the pearly gates and everything else, and sitting on clouds and playing harps, maybe, but maybe to some other people that's not heaven. So maybe to other people that's boring, so they don't go to that reality.
That's true.
But if that's the case, let me throw this at you. If heaven has pearly gates, then shouldn't countries have borders? I just gotta ask you that.
You would think. Not living under a bridge.
Okay, so Trump's not that bad, then? I don't know. There's 15,000 people sitting at the border right now, like under a bridge, having babies under a bridge and everything. It's a mess. Have you seen this, sir?
Oh yeah. Yep. I have.
Border is a mess.
And now guess what?
A mess.
Guess where a lot of our money is going to go to them. So we're always helping everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, and they're allowed to vote. They're allowed to do whatever. Yep. You know, why not? Hey, we can't have voter ID, but if you come from, you know, Guatemala under a bridge, it's all good. You should be able to vote. Because if I was to try to get into Canada or Mexico, I'm sure they would let me vote, right, bro? No.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Hey, let me tell you my theory on UFOs, man. I've been looking into this like my whole life, basically, since second grade. The more I look at it, the more I'm convinced. And let me preface this by saying there's a book called Identified Flying Objects, okay? And the premise of the book is that when you take the subtitle is an interdisciplinary look at the UFO phenomenon. Disciplinary look, meaning looking at it from like a biological perspective, an archaeological perspective, you know what I mean? Like just not looking at it just as a ufologist or whatever. When you look at it and take all the science into account, this author says it's us. It's future time travelers coming back. Now, I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I'll lay them out real quick. First of all, when you look at what we think, according to science, future humans are going to look like, it shows us with bigger eyes, bigger heads. We're going to get bigger brain size, whatever. The environment might be more hard to see things, the pollution, whatever. So we got bigger eyes, whatever. And then you look at how gray aliens are supposed to basically anatomically look like us, which is very unlikely. A lot of scientists will tell you, especially ones that don't believe gray aliens exist, they'll say there's no way, because they wouldn't have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. They wouldn't look like us like that. There's no reason to think they would look like us, but yet these gray aliens that visit people, they do. And it's just like the distance of space, too. It's like, yeah, maybe we can learn to fold space. Maybe we can learn how to use wormholes. But if that doesn't happen, which we have no idea how we'd actually do that, the distance between us and the most habitable planet we found is like immeasurable. It's so fucking far. The vastness of space, it's like you can't even imagine how long it would take. Even if you had a generational ship, it would take like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years to get there, assuming it could get there at all before being hit by meteors or whatever the hell would happen. You'd probably have to put people in stasis, or you'd have to have generations born on the ship. And it's like, okay, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe it's not. If they were time travelers, which again, if you travel in space, basically means you're traveling in time. And then you look at not only all that, but they're so obsessed, apparently, with our genetics. They're so obsessed, like, oh, they can't, they got to reproduce, they got to make their species survive and all this. And then you look at the push for AI, you look at the push for transhumanism, which starts with transgender, and then it goes all the way to transhumanism. It's like, so you have this race that's all the same race, right? No race relations to talk about. There's no gender to speak of, because everybody's just clones or whatever. You could see how the current politics and everything would lead to something like this. And then it's like, and then you put a religious spin on it. It's like, well, is that really the beast? Is that the mark of the beast? It's like this is what we become. We become soulless, half AI, half biological creatures. And then we go back in time and try to fix our mistakes. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. It's scary as hell. And all I can say, if that is true, I hope that we take a warning from, take heed and take warning of that, and that we make changes to where that never happens, and that species, that future soulless version of us disappears, and we never have to deal with it. But I don't know. Tell me I'm crazy or tell me I'm right. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you 100%. But then again, we're starting to send people up in outer space now. So what are we going to be seeing now? They're putting more and more people up in outer space. I mean, are we going to start seeing more UFOs? Are we going to start finding all these weird planets? You know what I mean? So I just think that having all these people going up there, there's going to be a lot more stories on like unexplained stuff that we do not know about. But then again, are they going to be allowed
we'll see some UFOs.
Yeah, and are they going to be allowed to tell?
Some people up. Jeff Bezos sent himself up in a dildo, basically a giant dildo. But did you know that that there's people now, they're saying that Earth's atmosphere extends maybe beyond the moon. And if it extends beyond the moon, I have to ask you this. The astronauts that are up there dropping feathers next to hammers and stuff, what if we actually get to the moon and that's not the case, that it actually has a similar atmosphere to Earth? Do we have to question the moon landing then? Uh-oh.
Right.
That would be a mess.
I mean, the moon landing, there's a big old thing about how that's fake, too.
Yeah, that was one of our episodes a few back. That's why I was asking, bro. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
is it possible?
Where's that light coming from? There's light shining on an astronaut on the moon. Where is that light coming from?
Right.
Wouldn't it be pitch black up in outer space?
Yeah. Some people think that we faked the pictures because the actual footage and everything got destroyed by radiation. Maybe. I don't know, But
how was technology? Was technology back then, though?
Yeah, I know. It's like they went to the moon on less, basic. I'm recording you on a cell phone, okay? They didn't have that much technology to send people to the moon back then. Period.
No, they didn't.
No, they did not. So not to give it away. No, I'm not sitting in a studio with a fucking microphone. That's on a fucking cell phone, and they had less technology than that. It's crazy. You see NASA control and all that stuff.
Well, and now we're starting to see more and more UFOs and stuff because of the technology we have now. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a phone now, and it's capable of taking videos and pictures. So anytime they see something, they're
I had my mom tell me, "Oh, well, if UFOs are real," which she used to believe in them, but then I guess she fell off that train. She started saying, "Well, we have cell phones. We don't see as many pictures now." And I said, "I don't think you're paying attention. There's all kinds of pictures all over the place." And it's not even pictures. That's the thing. Most of the time it's videos. Pictures are old school, People used to take pictures and that's all they had available. But now we have videos, a lot of them.
Now TikTok. I mean, look at everyone's abusing TikTok now and creating crimes.
Yeah. I mean, they pictures was the old school thing. It's like now it's like the government released a report. It's like, oh, they didn't find anything, whatever. It's like they investigated 144 and they found explanations for 2. It's like, just because they tell you, well, it could be this, it could be that, but you can't rule out aliens. Well, Jesus, thanks for that. It's like that's not telling us much. It's leaving that way wide open for that to be aliens or time travelers or anything. It's wild. Yep. Wild. But hey, they say, hey, Stephen Hawking, he put together a party for time travelers and nobody showed up. Well, maybe they want to. Maybe it's secret in the future and they don't go back and tell people in the 90s. I don't know. I mean, there could be an easy explanation for that.
I think everything's a mystery.
Yeah. Well, it is, That's a good point, When I was young, I would hold up my hand in front of my face and go, what the hell are these? Looking at my fingers. I'd look at my toes and go, what the hell? To me, it seemed weird, everything. But then we get so used to our world that we just start to think, it's normal, it's fine. No, it's not. The actual existence of us is completely crazy. It doesn't make any sense. I hate it when people lose their sense of wonder. I have friends that are atheists and whatever, and I'm like, fine, be that. Be whatever you want. But don't lose your sense of wonder. Don't think you know everything. That drives me nuts.
And I remember when I was young and I did that.
How about Bigfoot? You're
bloody.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I said I remember when I was younger and standing in front of a mirror going, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody, and getting all freaked out about that.
Candyman. There's a new Candyman movie, but I think it's woke. So I'm not really interested. I saw the original Candyman in the theaters. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not partisan. I'm not just like Mr. Republican here, but, man, I don't like woke culture. I don't like cancel culture. I don't like none of that stuff. People have got their heads so far up their asses these days. I mean, even Norm Macdonald, he probably died at a good time. He said, I come from a long history of death, meaning all his family and stuff. It's like, yeah. It's like, but he had just recently, he was going to say the word retarded, and then he stopped himself and then said Down syndrome instead, which is way worse. But it's like, he's a comedian. Why is he getting canceled for, it's like, oh my God, comedy is supposed to be the last refuge for people to talk about whatever. That just upsets me badly. But hey, good for him. He's probably up in heaven saying, I'm glad I'm out of here. That's all I can say.
So you're going to ask about
do you believe in Bigfoot? Yeah, Bigfoot?
Yes. Yes, I do.
You do?
Then again, you watch Paranormal Caught on Camera, and people are capturing Bigfoot more, too, because of technology.
They are, but that doesn't answer what it is. Because you got, look, I liked Bigfoot stuff since I was really young. But then I came to a point where I was like, man, if this was real, surely we'd have found a body. And I know the people who think it's like a great ape or like in a human type of thing, which I kind of lean more towards like a human type thing. Like the studies that were done with DNA saying, oh, it's half human or whatever, at least. I think people really threw that to the wayside way too quick because they start looking at peer-reviewed science and they think that's the be-all, end-all. Peer-reviewed science is so corrupted, just like anything else. It's very political. So I'm not sure about that. But you got to ask yourself, it's like, could it be something else? I interviewed Stan Gordon quite a few episodes back, probably 4 or 5, and or maybe more. But anyway, his whole thing is like, there's been so many UFOs sighted near Bigfoot sightings, and there's been so many Bigfoot sightings where they're holding a ball of light or all this shit, or somebody shoots at them and it goes right through them and stuff. That makes me wonder, it's like, does this lend credence to simulation theory? I don't know if you've heard of that. Or is it an interdimensional being or something? Like, do you know about any of that stuff? Like, could it be real but not what we think it is?
I mean, because just as fast as they see Bigfoot, he's gone. You know, I think I watched an episode on Paranormal on a Camera where they ran across the ice. Remember where there's like a frozen lake and there's those giant footprints and those kids were like chasing after it? And then it looked like it was going to start and it was like coming towards them. I mean, I don't know. Unless I see it for myself. You know, but I do believe in Bigfoot, but I have to see it for myself. But I think
that's like how most people feel about listening to us. They're like, oh, you want to believe, you're crazy, or you just got freaked out and thought something happened. I would say no, but you don't know until you do it. So do it, you know. Go out there, do it, have your own experiences, investigate. I don't know. Yep. That's the thing, too, with the whole where I saw the trailer thing and there was this wispy stuff, and my stepdaughter saw it. To add to that story, my ex-wife also saw stuff near those woods. She saw what she said was like shadow figures standing there, like 3 of them. And then before that, my stepdaughter, who saw that with me, said she saw something in the woods over there that looked like shadow figures or ghosts. And when I was over there before that happened with her, I saw something white in the woods. And I actually did a YouTube video where I'm like, I don't know what I saw. I saw something white. Maybe it's the elusive white Bigfoot that's been reported and filmed in Pennsylvania by Don Keating. He filmed supposedly a white Bigfoot, apparently, because Bigfoot get old and have gray and white hair just like us. But after I had that other experience, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just saw a ghost, you know? I don't know. It's pretty wild. Have you ever went Bigfoot hunting or anything like that? Have you ever looked for other things?
No. There's not really much.
You should come to that with me. If we ever meet up, talk a ghost investigation. We're going to go look for Bigfoot. How's that sound?
That would be awesome, but I still want to call you out and do a Facebook Live video at that freaking place that you were talking about, too.
Facebook Live? You want me to take you over to the haunted trailer?
Yeah, I want you to go to the haunted trailer live.
Facebook Live. Absolutely, we can do that. That'd be great, dude. That'd be great. I don't know.
Just yourself.
We should do it close to dark to where I can show it to you kind of in the daylight, in the twilight or whatever. We'll go over there in twilight and then wait till it gets dark.
You're like super far from me. I'm just talking about you going like by yourself, Facebook Live.
No, I'll go by myself. What I'm saying is I'll do it Facebook Live. I'll film it for you. And I'll just go before twilight, like to where you can see it in the daylight. Like, you know, I don't know, like right now it'd be like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, probably 7, you know, and it starts to get dark around 8, 8:30. I don't know, something like that. I'll figure out the sun schedule, what's going on. I don't know. I probably sound like an idiot right now with that, but yeah. Figure out when it's getting dark at night, and then I'll go. Yeah.
I'm sure you got a lot of people wanting to see this place too.
Probably, yeah. We'll do that, man. We can do that soon. That'd be fun.
Be some like Halloween.
Man. Well, we're about to wrap up here. Anything else you want to add to the show before we go?
No, I do want to be on again closer to Halloween, and maybe we can do that Facebook Live video.
Absolutely, man. You're always invited anytime.
So, no, I think we covered just about everything. So.
Cool, man. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. A good friend of the show here, Shane Clear. You want to give anybody websites, anything they can go to?
We don't don't have a website anymore because all of our traffic's pretty much through Facebook. So if you just look up Central
how do we find you on
Illinois
Facebook?
Central Illinois Ghost Hunters, we have a fan page, and then we have our official page, and the information, the contact information, everything's on that too.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining us today, man. We appreciate having you on Truth Tellers Radio, man.
Yep, I'll be back.
Have a good one. Keep it spooky, bro.
Awesome.
All right, technical difficulties. We're back. Go ahead. Tell your story, bro.
All right, so I don't even know where I left off. But
do you know the story? Do you know where we're at?
But no, I was just telling my story about when my girlfriend and I moved into the house that we're in now, and we're laying in bed, and I see the street light lighting up the window, and then out of nowhere, the whole window blocks out from the right to the left, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare my girlfriend, and then all of a sudden she says, "Did you see that?"